For a moment, she didn't speak. She just stared at me like I had spoken in a language she didn't understand. "Amma, what are you saying?" she asked, her voice cracking. "This is my home." I nodded slowly. "Yes," I said, "it was. When you remembered it." Her face tightened, not in anger, in fear, because for the first time in her life, I wasn't rescuing her. "I don't mean leave today," I continued, softer now. "I mean don't make this your backup plan. Don't stay here until your life improves, and then forget me again." She stood up. "I never forgot you," she said loudly. The walls heard it. So did the years. I looked at her, really looked at her. "Then tell me," I asked quietly, "when was the last time you missed me, when you didn't need something?" She opened her mouth, closed it, sat back down. Silence filled the room again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was honest. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I didn't know how to face you," she whispered. "Every time I thought of calling, I remembered how much you did for me, and I felt ashamed." I sighed. "Shame doesn't disappear by running away," I said. "It grows." She covered her face. "I thought sending money was enough," she cried. "I thought that's what responsibility looked like." I reached for her hand then, not to comfort her, to ground her. "Responsibility is presence," I said, "not payment." That night we talked, not like mother and child, like two women wounded by the same distance. She told me about her loneliness in the city, the pressure to look successful, the fear of being seen as a failure. "I was so busy surviving," she said. "I didn't realize I was losing you." I listened, because listening is something mothers never forget how to do. In the morning, she packed her bag. Slowly, each folded cloth felt like a question. "Where will you go?" I asked. "To a friend's place for now," she said. "I need to figure out who I am, without running." I nodded. At the door, she stopped. "I don't want to lose you," she said. I looked at her. "You never lost me," I replied. "You just stopped choosing me." She hugged me then, not for 10 seconds, for a long time. Her arms felt different now, not careless, intentional. When she left, the house became quiet again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. Weeks passed. She called. Not often, but regularly. Sometimes just to say, "Did you eat?" Sometimes to complain about life. I didn't chase. I didn't beg. I let her come to me. Slowly, carefully. One afternoon, she visited. No gifts. No guilt. Just herself. She cleaned the kitchen without being asked. She sat with me without checking her phone. At sunset, she said something I had waited years to hear. "I miss you, even when I don't need you." My eyes filled. I didn't hide it this time. Time taught her something distance never could. That love is not a memory you store away. It's a relationship you maintain. Today, she still lives separately. She has her life. I have mine. But now, She comes because she wants to, not because she has to. And I learned something too, that loving a child doesn't mean disappearing for them. It means teaching them how not to disappear from you. If you're listening to this, and there's a mother somewhere waiting for your call, call her. Not tomorrow, not when you're free, not when you need something. Call her because one day her phone will be silent forever, and regret has no return call. That night, neither of us slept. The house, which had been silent for so long, did not know how to hold two broken hearts at once. Every small sound felt too loud: the ticking clock, the kettle boiling, her uneven breathing from the other room. I gave her my bed. I slept on the floor. Some habits never change. A mother always chooses the harder place to rest. At dawn, I heard her crying again. Not loudly, not for attention. The kind of crying that slips out when the body finally gives up pretending to be strong. I sat beside her without saying anything. Sometimes silence is the kindest language. She wiped her tears quickly when she noticed me, like a child caught doing something wrong. I didn't mean to wake you, she said. You didn't, I replied. My heart was already awake. She tried to smile. It failed. I brought her tea, the way I used to when she was young. 2 spoons of sugar. She still remembered. She held the cup with both hands, staring into it as if the answers to her life were floating inside. Minutes passed. Then she spoke. I thought about coming back many times, she said quietly. Every year, every festival, every time I saw an old woman sitting alone. My fingers tightened around my shawl. Then why didn't you? I asked. Her jaw trembled. Because I was ashamed. That word again. Shame. It destroys families more quietly than hatred ever could. She began to talk slowly, like someone walking barefoot over broken glass. When she left home all those years ago, she believed freedom would save her. She believed love outside these walls would be kinder than love inside them. She believed she had to prove something to the world, to me, to herself. She married a man who spoke gently in public and cruelly in private. At first, she told herself it was normal, that all marriages needed adjustment, that patience was a woman's jewelry. Then the shouting started, then the control, then the hands. She stopped visiting, stopped calling, not because she forgot me, but because she didn't want me to hear fear in her voice. I didn't want you to worry, she said. That sentence felt like a knife, as if worrying is worse than losing your child, as if silence is kindness. I wanted to scream at her for suffering alone. I wanted to tell her that a mother's heart is not so fragile that it breaks from truth, but it does break from absence. Instead, I listened. She told me about nights spent locked in bathrooms, about neighbors who heard but never knocked, about how every apology from him sounded like hope and every promise tasted like poison. And then, she whispered, staring at her hands, he left me. My heart skipped. He left you? I asked. She nodded. For someone younger, someone quieter. There was a long pause. I begged him to stay, she admitted, shame burning her face. I begged someone who broke me every day to not leave me. I felt my chest collapse inward. That is what loneliness does. It makes you choose pain over emptiness. She had nowhere to go after that. Friends had faded. His family blamed her. Society watched her like a stain that wouldn't wash away. So she wandered, from house to house, from job to job, from dignity to survival. And every night, she said, tears returning, I dreamed of this house. I closed my eyes. The house that waited. The house that remembered. The house that forgave without asking. Why today? I asked softly. She hesitated. Then she rolled up her sleeve. My breath left my body. There were bruises, yellowing, purple, some still fresh. What happened? I asked, my voice shaking. He came back, she said. Not for me, for his anger. My knees went weak. He told me I was nothing without him, that even my mother didn't want me anymore. I felt something ancient and dangerous rise inside me. I believed him, she whispered, until I remembered you. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I realized something, she said. Even if the whole world throws me away, my mother's door might still be closed, but it would never be locked. I pulled her into my arms. For the first time in years, my house heard sobbing that was not lonely. She cried like a child who had been lost too long. Her tears soaked into my shoulder, into my bones, into the years we lost. I'm sorry, Amma, she kept saying. I should have come earlier. I should have trusted you. I held her tighter. There is no late for a mother, I said. Only alive or not. She slept after that, deep, exhausted sleep. But I did not, because now that she was home, another fear had entered my heart. The world that hurt her once would not stop trying. And I was old. My hands shook. My legs were weak. How long could I protect her? As the morning sun rose, I made a decision. If my house had been silent for years, it was because it was waiting to become a shield, waiting to become loud again, waiting for a fight I did not know was coming, because her past was not finished with her, and the knock at my door was not the end. It was a warning. For a few days, peace pretended to live with us. My daughter woke up late, like someone whose body had finally put down a heavy load. She helped me in the kitchen, sweeping the floor, washing dishes, touching every corner of the house like she was asking permission to exist again. Neighbors began to notice. Doors opened slowly. Curtains moved. Whispers returned to the lane like old ghosts. Is that her daughter? She came back. After all these years, my daughter heard them. She always did. She stopped going outside. I watched her shrink again, the way she used to shrink when she was married, making herself small so the world wouldn't hit her as hard. One afternoon, I found her standing in front of her old room, her hand resting on the closed door. Do you want to go inside? I asked. She shook her head. I'm scared, she said honestly. What if I don't recognize myself in there? I opened the door anyway. Dust floated in the air, catching sunlight like trapped memories. Everything was frozen in time. Her books, her mirror, her childhood awards. She stepped in slowly. Then she sat on the bed and cried again. "I was loved here," she whispered. "I forgot how that felt." That night, the fear arrived. A shadow stopped outside our gate. I noticed it first because the dogs went quiet. Silence again, but the dangerous kind. I looked through the small window. A man stood there. Even after years, I recognized him. Her husband. He didn't knock. He just stood there, smoking, like he owned the air around my house. My heart pounded. I closed the window softly and walked to my daughter's room. "He's here," I whispered. Her face turned white. "No," she said. "Please. I just escaped him." Before I could answer, the knock came. Not gentle like hers. Hard. Demanding. The kind of knock that doesn't ask permission. I walked to the door anyway. When I opened it, he smiled, a thin, cruel smile. "Old woman," he said casually. "My wife ran away. I've come to take her back." "She is not your wife anymore," I replied. He laughed. "Then why is she hiding?" he asked, pushing his foot toward the door. I didn't move. "You will leave," I said. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You should be careful," he warned. "At your age, stress can kill." Something inside me snapped. I had lived with silence for years. I would not live with fear now. "This house," I said slowly, "has already buried my loneliness. It will not bury my dignity." He raised his hand. Not to hit me, to scare me. And it worked. But then, my daughter appeared behind me. Her voice was shaking, but she spoke. "I'm not coming back," she said. He turned, surprised. "You're nothing without me," he spat. She took a breath. "I was nothing with you." That sentence was louder than any scream. He lunged forward. Before I could think, I slammed the door shut and bolted it. He began banging on it. Once, twice, again. Threats followed. Curses. Promises of revenge. The neighbors gathered now, drawn by noise instead of silence. Someone shouted. Someone called the police. The man finally left, but not before pointing at my door. "This isn't over," he said. That night, my daughter sat shaking on the floor. "I'm scared, Amma," she whispered. "What if he comes back?" I cupped her face in my hands. "Then we will stand together," I said. The next morning, we went to the police station. My legs hurt. My back screamed. But I walked like a mountain. We filed a complaint. The officer looked bored at first, until I spoke. I told him everything. Not softly. Not politely. I told him what silence does to women. What fear does to daughters. What waiting does to mothers. Something changed in his eyes. He took the report seriously. By afternoon, legal papers were moving. By evening, my daughter smiled for the first time. But peace is fragile. That night, she asked me something I wasn't ready for. "Amma," she said, "what if he destroys our reputation? What if people blame you for taking me back?" I took a long breath. "This house was silent for years," I told her. Because I was afraid of people. I looked at her. I will not be afraid anymore. She held my hand. But deep inside, I knew the hardest part was still coming. Because the world forgives men quickly, and it punishes women slowly. And my daughter had not yet faced the final truth about why she left me in the first place. The hardest truths do not arrive shouting. They arrive quietly, late at night, when the world is asleep and you can no longer lie to yourself. It was past midnight when my daughter finally spoke. The house was calm again, but not the empty calm I had lived with for years. This calm was fragile, like a glass that could shatter with one wrong word. She sat beside me on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, eyes fixed on a crack in the wall. "Amma," she said, "there is something I never told you." I waited. A mother learns patience the way skin learns scars. "When I left," she continued, "it wasn't only because I wanted freedom." My heart tightened. "I left because I thought you were disappointed in me." The room felt smaller. She turned to me, tears already falling. "You never stopped me," she said. "You didn't run after me. You didn't beg me to stay. I thought maybe you were relieved." That was when I understood the cruelty of silence. I had believed giving her space was love. She had believed it was rejection. "I was proud of you," I whispered. "I was afraid to hold you back." She shook her head, crying harder now. "I needed you to stop me," she said. "I needed you to say, 'Stay. We will face this together.'" Those words broke me. All these years, I had blamed myself for not being enough. All these years, she had blamed herself for leaving. We had both been wrong, and both had been hurting alone. I pulled her into my arms, rocking her the way I did when she was a child afraid of thunder. "There is no mistake bigger than not speaking," I said, "and no forgiveness bigger than speaking now." She cried until her body relaxed, until the weight she carried for years finally loosened its grip. The next weeks were not easy. People talked. They always do. Some said I spoiled her by taking her back. Some said a daughter who leaves once will leave again. Some said I should have let her suffer. It would have taught her a lesson. I stopped listening. My house was no longer silent, and that frightened people. My daughter started healing slowly. She began going outside again. She started working at a small tailoring shop. She laughed, hesitantly at first, like she didn't trust happiness to stay. One afternoon, she came home with papers in her hand. "Amma," she said, smiling through nervousness, "the divorce is finalized." I closed my eyes, not in relief, in gratitude. That night, we lit a small lamp in the courtyard. Its light was weak, but it pushed back the darkness all the same. She sat beside me and asked softly, "Did you ever hate me for leaving?" I thought for a long time. "I hated the silence," I said. "Not you." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm home," she whispered, and I realized something then. Home is not walls. Home is not time. Home is not even forgiveness. Home is the place where your worst version is still allowed to sit down. Years have passed since that night. My hair is whiter now, my steps slower, but my house, My house is alive. It wakes up with voices, with the sound of cups clinking, with laughter that stumbles but keeps going. Sometimes in the evening, my daughter stands at the same door she once knocked on. She touches it gently, like greeting an old friend. "This door saved me," she says. I smile. "No," I tell her. "You saved yourself. The door just remembered how to open." If you are listening to my story and your house is silent right now, if you are waiting for a knock or afraid to make one, if shame has convinced you that you are unworthy of returning, listen to an old woman who learned too late. Doors are not closed by time. They are closed by fear. And fear can be unlocked. Sometimes, all it takes is one knock and the courage to open it.